Welcome back to the garden. After a week in London, it looks even more like a disaster than normal, but nothing got in. And look at this lettuce. We planted this a few weeks ago, maybe the first show, and it's ready for harvest. I'm going to be planting my favorite peppers in containers. We're taking a look at a beautiful garden just south of London, also in the city, on top of the convention center. Something cool growing there. Follow me. We're going to get these planted. I grow a lot in containers, and I love these root pouches. These are made out of recycled water bottles, and I'm using a 15-gallon size for one pepper plant. That's the trick. Right size container for the right plant. I know you might say, well, I'd like to put 3 peppers in there, but if you just use this filled with something good like compost, and I put a little organic fertilizer in here too, and put just one pepper plant in here, you are going to make a pepper shrub. Now, super chili is my favorite hot pepper. This thing will put on peppers under any circumstances, even growing under a tomato. This was a 1988 All-America selection. When you see something with that AAS sign on it, that means it's been tested all over the country. And I know back to 1988 seems like a long time ago, but whenever I can find this pepper, I have to grow it. And I've got 3 of them I'm going to put in. I love to grow them in containers, and they love it hot. And look at these roots. Oh man, that is absolutely perfect. This does not need to be trimmed in any way or pulled apart. It's ready to go, and this is certainly easy enough. I'm just going to dig a little hole here, put it in. I'll put some water on it, and actually even my containers, I'm going to put a nice mulch of straw on this, and I'm telling you what, it won't be long until we're picking some nice bright red hot peppers. Now we're headed off to the city of Pittsburgh, and you won't believe what they are growing on top of the convention center. Then it's off to the most amazing garden you'll ever see, all the way in Kent, England. Welcome to the roof of the David L. Lawrence Convention Center, where they have planted hops. We're going to find out how and why they're growing it up here. So right behind you are some very tall plants. What's growing there?
So those are hops, right? And they're 2 different types, Chinook and Cascade. They're now almost 8 years old. We planted them in 2017.
So what do you use the hops for?
We make beer. I say we, as in us and North Country.
How did you and North Country Brewing get together for this project?
So it started with an idea that anything grew up here, and we planted the hops just to see, and they took off, and thought how cool it could be if we could create something that we could use here, and we call that typically like a point of difference. It separates us from other convention centers. And I reached out to a few different places, and they had keg minimums, how many hops. They asked way too many questions, and then I thought of an old buddy up in Slippery Rock, high school mate that brews beer, and asked him what he thought. He said, bring them up.
So tell me about that. Who is this friend of yours?
Bob McCafferty at North Country.
And you two went to school together?
Went to Butler High School.
Who came up with the name? Tell me the name of this beer, because it's perfect.
Rooftop Hops.
And who came up with that?
I did.
All right. Did you have any idea that you were going to be this successful at growing hops on the roof of the convention center?
I knew we could grow the hops, but I didn't know what the beer would be like. And it was kind of a novelty at first. People thought it was cool, the name was cool, but then the beer is good. It withstood the test, and people like it, and now it's part of every bar we put on here at the convention center.
And do you know how do you quantify how much you're getting out of what's growing here?
So typically what we'll do is we get anywhere from like 8 to 10 to 12 pounds, and I don't know if you're familiar with hops, but they're very light. So that's garbage bags full. Now we're not a hop farm, so we're not growing enough to produce all the beer. So it's part of the brewing process. It's almost like put in bags and infused in the first part of the brew, which is called the boil, and then it's reintroduced at the end, almost like a tea bag, if you will.
And in this space up here, who can spend time up here? Who could see this?
So in any groups, this is open to the attendees for all events, and then we also do events up here.
What's been the hardest part of the project for you?
Actually, it's probably the easiest of all the growing we do up here. I mean, we plant, water, and they go.
How do you get enough water on there up here?
So there's irrigation and watering system through all these beds. And they're all timed. 2 different times a day they come on. Makes it easy.
And the hops just come up on their own year after year?
They do. We'll cut them back once they start. The hops start coming by the end of I think usually around September. We'll pull them down, pluck all the hops off, and then cut them right down to the ground.
So tell me a little bit about why you're doing this, why you're growing hops on the top of the convention center for this beer.
We like to do unique things. We like to try something that nobody's ever done before, and this is just something that you don't get to see very often. We all love gardening at North Country Brewing, and when George came to Bob with this idea, we were like, you know what? We're crazy enough, let's try it.
And what's interesting, you were saying, is that every beer has a different story, right? From
Correct.
North Country Brewing?
Mm-hmm. That is correct. And it's also a lot of fun being able to have the bartenders relay the story about how this is actually grown down in downtown on top of the roof of the convention center, brought back to Slippery Rock in Butler County, brewed, and then we package it and they get to sell it here at the restaurants, and then we actually distribute a limited amount of kegs throughout a couple restaurants in Pittsburgh as well.
What a fun story for a bartender to tell, right?
Yeah. And it's great because it connects them to the city, the convention center, North Country as well, and it just helps make that beer special, and it also deepens people's relationship with the beer as well.
So how does it work? The hops come on the plant at some certain point, and then what happens?
So everybody here at the convention center actually hand picks it. They put it and store it for us, and then I'm actually the one who usually comes and picks it up. My car smells like hops for about a week afterwards. And usually we have the brew already started in the boiler process, and we just throw it right in, and then the hops, go and seep into everything that's going on. Or if we're doing it like a week out, we usually just store it in the fridge.
What makes this beer so special and popular?
I think the connection between George and Bob, being friends back in high school, it being a Pittsburgh beer that we actually grow the hops inside the city, and it's just brewed by North Country, which I think is special in itself, right up the road in Butler County.
When someone's drinking a nice cold Rooftop Hops, what do you want them to be thinking about?
The labor, the love, the city. It's unique, that's for sure, right? And I think they think of the name, they think of the David L. Lawrence Convention Center.
When In Doug's Garden was conceived, I had no idea we'd be spending so much time out of my garden. And today we are taking the longest journey we ever have to see a great garden. Check out Sissinghurst Castle and Gardens in Kent, England. I think you're going to love it. When walking through the entrance to Sissinghurst Garden, you are greeted by the gardener's notes. We'll tell you everything that's going on in this beautiful landscape. Nothing compares to the fragrance of English roses and these borders. It seems as though these plants have sprouted naturally, but it's the hard work of designers and gardeners to make it look this way. This is the famous White Garden, a monochromatic beauty that is unmatched. How nice to sit in a quiet spot and watch a honeybee work the flowers. Oh, and if we could all only grow climbing roses that look like this, how long do you think they have been working their way up this beautiful brick wall? A look at the castle as it was in days gone by, and here is the famous tower. And the view from up here is absolutely stunning. Herbs go hand in hand with roses, and perennials are tucked into corners for visitors to discover.
Does it smell? No. Oh, it does. Is it?
As I said, nothing compares to the scent of an English rose. Pretty pink columbine flowers dance in the breeze, and walking through these borders is a joy for any gardener. Beautiful, beautiful irises. Every step you take in this garden offers something new, even a couple little ducks. Walk down a woodland path, look to your right, and see orange azaleas with white wisteria in the background. This garden is out in the country, 2 hours south of London, and listening to the birds overhead just makes it even more of a special place to visit. It's always important to explore a garden completely and find the garden art tucked away underneath trees. Soft, tall grasses in consort with bright red roses is a great way to end our visit. Well, I hope you enjoyed the tour of Sissinghurst Castle and Gardens. It is an amazing place and a lovely garden. This week we're talking about our native mountain laurel. It is our state flower, also the state flower of Connecticut. And even though this is a stunning, beautiful plant, there's a cultivar I've been growing for years, and I've talked about it before. Let's go down and take a look at it. This mountain laurel is called nipmuc, and believe it or not, I actually got this plant after it fell off the back of a truck at a nursery. Literally fell off the back of a truck. And we're catching it right at the perfect time. These buds, that luminescent red is unbelievable, and it's going to open to a really pretty pink flower, but it's these buds. That's the reason I grow this. And even though it's poisonous to the deer, they will nibble on the buds, so I've got to spray it during the winter, and I'm so excited to see it blooming. Now it's time for Talking Trees from the Davey Tree Expert Company. I'm joined again by Rob Kruljac. He's an assistant district manager for the Davey Tree Expert Company in the Pittsburgh North office. Welcome back to the garden.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks for having me.
Ugh.
Yeah, we see way too many of these.
Barberry. We're talking about invasives. Mm-hmm. And barberry is one of the worst of the invasives. Why I still have it here, I have no idea.
I was wondering the same thing.
After you leave, I'm cutting it down. When you come back again, it won't be here, I promise.
Good.
What is the worst thing about a barberry?
They spread. They take over areas. They harbor small rodents, which really adds to our tick problem. A lot of people associate deer with like deer ticks and Lyme disease, but actually most of our rodents carry the majority of the ticks, and they really like to hide out.
This is a tick magnet, right?
It is, absolutely is. So if you have these on your property, I would highly recommend having an arborist come in and take a look to assess a plan and maybe eradicate them from the property.
So would you just cut this thing to the ground, or does it have to be dug out?
No, either dug out or with an herbicide to kill it and the roots, because if we cut it down, guess what? It's just coming back.
That's why it's invasive.
Yep.
And so what kind of other invasives should we be looking at in the landscape that we don't want?
That we don't want. Autumn olive's one. We don't see much of that around.
So stop there. I have an autumn olive.
Oh, also.
It has edible berries.
Yeah.
When it blooms, it's my wife's favorite fragrant flower in the garden. Mm-hmm. Is it a terrible thing to have one autumn olive? I mean, is it going to spread everywhere? Because I don't see them anywhere else.
They're one that is not as prolific as a spreader as, like, say, the barberry or Japanese knotweed or a stilt grass.
If I cut that thing down, I'm out the door.
So I'd rather err on the side of you staying here and continue to use the garden.
So autumn olive, what else?
Some of our vines are really bad.
What's that one?
Oriental bittersweet.
Oh, the bittersweet. When you go out to some of the parks in our area and it's in its full color, it's unmistakable.
Yes, yeah. So if you have, again, vines on your property, really any vine growing into a tree, I would say cut it at the base, or cut it about 4 feet up so the vine's left dangling so it can't reroot or anything, and just let nature blow them out of the trees over time, because if left unattended, they will take over the canopy, strangle the tree, obscure defects in it. So vines and trees we really don't appreciate.
I'm putting you on the spot. I'm taking this thing out. What am I going to plant here?
Oh, up here on this hillside?
Underneath my beautiful, declining dogwood.
Yes, yeah, that's looking a little sad. So maybe a new dogwood, an eastern flowering dogwood up in here.
All right.
Would be a nice addition up on the slope here. Got some flowers in the spring, so.
I think that thing needs a little fertilizer.
Yeah, right, yeah.
As always, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, no problem. Great seeing you.
Ugh, but not great seeing this.
No, next time I come back, I'll expect it to be
I promise, it'll be gone.
gone. Cool.
For more information about everything we talked about today, go to dougoster.com. Lots of cool gardening videos and stories there. And do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. It helps this channel. Until next week, keep planting, and we will see you then.